Let's get to the Word this morning. Today I want to talk to you on a simple subject, and it's one of those words that whether you're 5, whether you're 15, whether you're 50, whether you're 100 years old, you can relate to this word. And it's something simple, but God brings something deep out of the simple things sometimes. Lately I've been reading, the Gospels a lot, and getting reacclimated and falling in love with the Gospels again, and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and just eating up, and things that I've read, and stories that I've heard. I've heard Chip preach on some of these stories, and they're brand new to me. And then the other day, I got into the Psalms, and I was reading in Psalm 24. Psalm 24, around verses 3 through 5, it says this, and I'm reading of the English Standard Version. It says this: "Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord?" Or another word is climb. "Who shall climb the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place?" Or in other words, who's going to reach the top? "He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and who does not swear deceitfully, he will receive blessing." So you receive blessing when you reach the top. Jason, there's a little bit of a rain I'm hearing behind me. "He will receive blessing from the Lord, the righteous from the God of his salvation." Who will ascend the hill of the Lord? Today I want to talk to you on a simple subject. I want to talk to you about climbers. Life is an uphill climb. It's full of challenges, and it requires us to not stop, but it requires us to keep on climbing. Living this life of faith is a climb. Living this life of faith is a climb. I love in verse 3, it says, "Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord?" Or who he's saying, who will keep climbing with me? Who will keep moving upward? Who will keep going until they get beyond a comfortable place in God? Who will keep going until they reach the top? Because that one who will keep going, that one will obtain blessing. You look at Moses, he climbed Mount Sinai, and at the top he saw the very face of God, and he received his assignment. You look at Elijah, he climbed Mount Carmel, and when he got to the top, he prayed a prayer that was only 14 words long, and fire fell from heaven. Notice that blessings were on top of the mountain, and it required work, it required climbing. Now listen, there's good things about valleys, because valleys are times of refreshing and valleys are times of renewal, so you can't discount valleys. But there's something about getting to the top of the mountain and looking across and receiving. But you know what happens? You can't just stay there. You got to climb down into the valley and go to the next mountain and keep climbing. You don't just arrive on the mountain. It requires climbing. See, here's the thing. God showed me this. Blessing requires sacrifice. Blessing requires sacrifice. Like tithing. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Like tithing. Requires sacrifice. It hurts sometimes. Let me tell you a story. Lori and I were we've been going to church, we've been serving, but for some reason we got this thought process in our mind that we couldn't give, because if we gave, we wouldn't have enough money to meet our bills. So I was talking to my friend David Sullivan, and David literally had a little come to Jesus with me, and he said, "Boy, you need to stop that." So the next week we got our paychecks, we deposited them, we're doing our budget, and I said, okay, first thing we're going to do, before online giving, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that tithe envelope, we're going to write our tithe check, we're going to put it in there, and we're going to deduct it from our little ledger. You remember the ledgers? Before online banking, you remember little ledgers, So we did that, we put it away, and so we went to Costco. We bought all of our groceries, and we looked at it and we're like, hey, there's still money. So we paid all of our bills. And there's still money left. This tithing thing works. Even though I've been growing, I'm 30-something years old at that time. I've been raised in church all my life. I should know tithing works. But my father that taught me the benefits of tithing, but somewhere I forgot that with blessing comes. And there have been times where, yeah, we tithe and we script and we saved and we made it through by the skin of our teeth. But we have, I can say that in the last probably 10, 15 years, we have not skipped a tithe. But God has blessed us since. And I want to encourage you, and your pastor's sitting there going, preach, brother. I want to encourage you to give. Don't give to be generous. Give because it is required of a believer to give. Now, I'm going to get off my soapbox and keep on going. So there are 3 types of people in life. Here they are. Those who start to climb but quit. Those who climb but get comfortable and get complacent. And they get to a place where they want to stop. And those who keep climbing no matter what. So you're either a quitter, a camper, or a climber. So let's talk about quitters. I haven't called somebody a quitter in a long time. Probably not since I was a little kid. You quitter. You quitter. Quitters, here's the thing about quitters. Quitters abandon the climb when things get tough. Sometimes quitters just look at the mountain and give up. Quitters end up bitter. They end up depressed. They end up offended because of what happened to them in life. Quitters opt out of and they back out of and they drop out of everything that God has for their future. They quit climbing because it gets too hard. And here's the reason they quit. Because it's easier to quit than to endure. And the second group of people are these people. They're campers. See, a camper goes further than a quitter. They don't throw in the towel at the first challenge. And here's the thing. They have some successes. And then, once they receive that success, they get satisfied, they get complacent, they get comfortable, and they don't go all the way to what even more than what God has for them. So they say, I'm tired, I think I'm just going to sit here, I'm going to rest a bit. Or it's, you know what, I'm sitting here resting, but it's getting a little dark, so I think I'm going to make camp. And I'll keep climbing in the morning. And then they wake up the next morning and they see the view. Wow, they're having their coffee and it's a beautiful view. I think I'm going to go ahead and vacation and spend a few days here. And it ends up being excuse after excuse after excuse. They just plateau and they get comfortable. See, and they camp. Other climbers come by and they encourage them, come on, let's go. We're going to make it to the top. Come on, let's go. And they say, you know what? Where I am right now, it's good enough for me. Maybe tomorrow. Ooh. Maybe tomorrow I'll go serve. Maybe next Master's Table I'll go serve. Maybe the next Sunday I'll come serve at church. Maybe the next work day I'll come work. I'm doing better than most people. I'm doing okay. It's comfortable here. It's comfortable. But really, they've grown tired. They've grown tired of climbing. And they found a comfortable place. They're no longer fighting. Remember when you were first saved and you fought and you grabbed and you climbed and you moved and you wanted everything. You were at church on Sunday and on Monday and on Tuesday and on Wednesday and on Thursday. I grew up in a church like that. It was Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. There was a time when I looked at my mom and I said, Mama, if I got to go to church this much, I'd just rather go to hell. But we were at church. Sometimes it seemed like I was driving from Wasco to Shafter every night. Every night in high school. I put more cars on a little ugly 86 Ford Tempo than needed to be on. But I had a good stereo system. Chip didn't like the music, I listened to the stereo system, but I had a good stereo system. But we're not going to go there. We're not talking about me today. They're no longer fighting for an even better marriage. They're no longer fighting for a deeper relationship with God. They're no longer fighting to get to that place where God has shown them that they're supposed to be. They say, I made the team, I started a few games, but I'm comfortable. I don't need to start anymore. They said yes to Jesus. They came to church. They served a little, and now they're going to relax. And I think that's what we've seen in the last 18, 19 months. We've seen that. Since I made it this far, it's good enough. I'm comfortable. And then they find those other climbers and they start hanging out with them and they get real comfortable because they found some success and They no longer hunger for more. Listen, success should not diminish our desire. If it does, you won't remain successful very long. You as a church, Sunshine Church, you can't get comfortable. You can't camp and say, we've done more than those churches. Some churches our size didn't get on YouTube, which I think is amazing that you guys are doing. Trying to get the technology to get the word out there about your church and get the word out there about how you're helping the community and get the word out there about what's going on here on Roberts Lane at this church. And you're trying, but we've done more, we've grown more, we've felt more of His presence than most churches. But if you do that, you'll become stagnant. If you feel that way, you will stop growing. I think I'm talking to the core here today. Maybe it is the reason why it's not packed like normal. Chip, maybe got the core today. Maybe hear this word. See, to the camper, the plateau becomes permanent when it's only supposed to be where you stop to catch your breath, get refreshed, and get renewed. But instead, you get a chair, a nice warm blanket, a Yeti filled with your favorite beverage. We're not going to go there. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a quitter. I don't want to be a camper. Church, I want to be a climber. See, climbers go up and keep going no matter the obstacle. No matter how steep. Climbers will do anything to reach what God has for them. They'll do everything they can to reach the call. They will do everything they can to reach the miracle. They will do everything they can to reach freedom. They will do everything they can to see their families saved and see their church grow and see their lives renewed. They will do everything they can. That's what I want to be. I want to be a climber. Climbers are dedicated to a lifelong journey. No matter how old you are, you keep climbing. If it's hard, you keep climbing. They say, I have not arrived. I have not reached that place where I'm supposed to be. In God, they will continue an upward journey. Regardless of misfortune or regardless of disadvantage or regardless of pain, regardless of past achievements, they do not get satisfied. And then when they reach an obstacle, they don't worry about it because an obstacle becomes an opportunity. Their test becomes a testimony. They see the glass not half empty. They see the glass half full. I'm going to make it past this obstacle. Then I'm going to tell somebody that I made it past the obstacle. Is there anybody here who's climbed and hit an obstacle, went around it, and told people, you don't know what I've been through, but can I tell you I made it? You can make it too. They understand that a bend in the road is not the end of the road. They get bruised, they get hurt, and then they get over it. And they keep going. My brothers used to tell me when I would skin my knee, rub some dirt on it, you'll be okay. Nothing will stop them. They're going to keep going to the high places. Listen to what Matthew said in Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 and 2 in the Message translation. It said, when Jesus saw his ministry drawing huge crowds, he climbed a hillside. And those who were apprenticed to him, so his disciples, the committed, they climbed with him. And arriving at a quiet place, he sat down and he taught. Listen to this. This is key. He taught his climbing companions. Just like campers have camping buddies, climbers have climbing companions. People that they make the journey with. I thank God for my climbing companions. The most important climbing companion in my life is my wife. Why? Because we climb together. We walk this road. This is not just my call, it's her call. We are together as a family. It's me and her. And we climb together. And if I start getting tired, you know what she does? She puts a chair up. She stands up on it so she can look me in the eyes because she's a real person. And she says, listen here, big boy, don't stop. Keep going. Then I got other climbing companions. My buddy Freddie. My buddy Freddie over here. He's not just my best friend. I've noticed lately that he's become almost an armor bearer. When I go somewhere, he's right. He's like, I'm going to be there with you. We were at a church recently, and there were some issues with some stuff. And he said, I'll make sure Lori's okay. He goes, because I'll cut somebody who tries to come after Lori. And then he's like, here, let me take your bag. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to do that. I'm not that person. I will carry my own stuff. But he's like, no. Let me do this for you so you can focus on doing the things of God. Another climbing companion is Chip and Debbie Carroll. You know why they're my climbing companions? Because they I'm sorry, but they walked with me through some crap. I'm in Oildale, I can say that. They walked with me through some stuff. Some hurts, some pains. Not just as my youth pastor, but when Lori and I had to make a big decision to leave a place of comfort where we had been serving and we were thick, ingrained in the culture of where we were. After we told our family, they were the first people we told. Why? Because we needed our spiritual parents to walk us through this. They're my climbing companions. They climb together, they encourage each other, they grow together, they get stronger in their faith together. So here are some things that God gave me. He showed me that we need to do in order to be climbers. So if you're taking notes, just jot these down. Number one, you got to quit being a quitter. Simple, isn't it? You just got to quit being a quitter. But listen, most people, they start out inspired. Remember when you first got saved, they start out inspired, not thinking about quitting, but when it gets hard, they quit. I see this in marriages of young couples all the time. And it breaks my heart. Marriage takes work. And sometimes it can be hard, and sometimes separation has to happen. It has to happen. There's issues, there's things biblically, and then you ran everything through this. But can I tell you, it takes work. You don't just give up because you had one fight. If Lori and I would have given up after one fight, we would have never made it to our wedding night. You can't quit at the first sign of trouble. It's the same with our faith. We have to keep climbing and keep going. We have to keep loving Jesus. But the first sign, or the first sign of problems, or the first prayer that goes unanswered right away, or God just says no, or not right now, you get offended, and then people leave their faith. And quitting becomes a habit. Have you ever met somebody who they have a habit of quitting everything they start? See, if we quit every time something gets hard, it can become habitual. And we start quitting anytime something gets hard. Like, I love the game of golf, but I'm horrible at the game of golf. I tell people, call me Wonder, because I slice everything I hit. Everything. I hit it and it's like, oh, it's a beautiful, and it turns. And it hits a house. Or it hits a tree. Or it hits a geese and breaks its neck. I don't know. Everything I hit. Now, Lori, on the other hand, everything just straight. Well, drive the cart and just push her out the cart. But I'm not quitting because I love the game. I want to learn how to be better at that game. I love it. It's a fun game to play. I love the strategy, and I love the score. I love everything about it. Listen, if things are getting difficult, getting hard, I want you to remember the words of the Apostle Paul, 2 Corinthians 4, 8 and 9. We are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. There's a difference between quitters and climbers. When pain comes, one pushes through it and chooses to quit. The other says, chooses not to quit. The other says, I give up. Can I tell you today, it's time to quit quitting when it gets hard. Don't give up. Hold on. Hold fast. Hold out. Don't quit. You may be here this morning and you are on the verge of walking out of the church because you just feel like quitting. I don't want you to quit. Don't give up. Keep climbing. Number 2, don't set up camp at the campground of complacency. Don't set up camp at the campground of complacency. I love what Proverbs 1 says, and I love the way the English Standard Version says. It says, fools. Wow. Fools are destroyed by their own complacency. Gee, Solomon. Fools are destroyed. Some people make some progress on their climb, but when they become complacent, when they stop learning, when they stop being teachable, when they stop being passionate, when they stop living up to the potential that's in them, they stop climbing. And here's the thing, potential is a funny thing. I love that word. I love talking about potential. And you've heard me preach on potential. This little one has a lot of potential right there. So glad to see you, baby. Potential is this. Potential is reality that you have not realized yet. Potential is untapped power. Potential is dormant ability. Potential is hidden strength. Potential is unused success. Potential is concealed power. Potential is who you are, but nobody knows it yet because you've stopped climbing. Potential is what you can do, but you haven't done it yet because you've stopped climbing. Potential is how far you can go, but you haven't gone yet because you either haven't started or you've stopped climbing. Potential is never what you've done. It's always what you could do, but you haven't done it yet because you've either quit or you've stopped climbing. You've become complacent. People who are doing all they can to maintain their potential are passionate people. But when they reach that place of comfort, they stop climbing and get comfortable, and they get complacent, and they stop trying to maintain that potential. And when that happens, that's when our prayers lose passion, that's when our worship loses passion, that's when our walk with God loses passion. Today, I read something by, he used to be the general bishop of Foursquare, Glenn Burris, and he said something today that just blew my mind. He said, instead of us saying, you're right, you're wrong, you're right, it's almost like we've given up in regards to what's going on in this pandemic. What happened to prayer? He goes, did we give up on prayer as a church? And God spoke to me, I was in the shower, and God spoke to me and said, the church had the opportunity for if my people moment at the beginning of this pandemic, and we missed it because we were arguing, should we open? Should we close? Should we make them wear masks? Should we not wear masks? Should we do this? Should we do that? That was the issue. But the church what they should have done is gone to their knees at the first 2 weeks of this, and the entire church on the planet, and had an if my people, because I still serve a God of miracles who can arrest this virus and stop it. Now I have my thoughts, and you may have your thoughts on this, but that doesn't matter because we both love Jesus. So why can't we come together and not worry about who's right and who's wrong, and pray for the people who are hurting, for the people who are broken, for the families that have been broken, and the churches that have, there's a lot of churches that have not been able to survive this. And have an if my people moment. But the problem is we've lost potential. We lost our passion. When our walk with God loses passion, that's when our agenda shifts from the agenda of heaven, from seeing people come to Jesus, to the agenda of our own comfort. Can I tell you, the agenda of heaven is not your comfort. I hate to tell you that, sweetheart, but it's not about you. It says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. The agenda of heaven is to see those who don't know him come to him. God did not intend for you to get stuck at one level and stay there. He has new opportunities for you. Sunshine Church, he has new favor for you. He has new wisdom for you. He has new vision for you. something new is coming for you. But in order to reach it, you have to keep climbing. See, a person with new vision keeps climbing. They don't let their past keep them from climbing. Use your past as a launching pad and not a lawn chair. Because sometimes we use our past as a lawn chair and we just sit there and wallow in our past. Or we use our past, instead of using our past as a springboard to new things, we use it as a hammock and we just get comfortable. I love Jesus, but I was a drug addict. No, you're not a drug addict anymore, hon. You're not this, and you're a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. Then why are you dwelling and wallow? I need to shut up and keep going. Listen, beware of the desire of safety. People get halfway and they just want security and they want to play it safe. Listen, if you want to see miracles happen at Sunshine Church, you have to refuse to allow the desire for safety and security to grip your heart. If you want to see miracles happen in your home, you have to refuse to allow the desire of safety to grip your heart. You have to start walking by faith and not by sight. I added this to my notes last night because I kind of want to talk about that, walking by. Because part of complacency is looking at what you see in front of you. Because you see what's in front of you, and that's when you give up. But it says this. I noticed one thing, and this was at the beginning of the pandemic, and those who came with me have heard me say this a lot. One thing I've learned is that the opposite of faith is not doubt. We have said the opposite of faith, that if you doubt, you don't have faith. True. But the Bible says we walk by faith and not by sight. So, God did not contrast faith and doubt. He contrasts faith and sight. So God is asking you to look past the thing you can see and look at what you can't see. It's just not on the screen, so don't worry, bro. I just had this morning, so I'm sorry. 2 Corinthians 4:18, Paul says this. He says, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. So we can't fix our eyes and focus on the natural. Instead, we have to have faith that heaven knows something that we don't, and we have to look at things that are unseen. All the stuff that we see in front of us, all the problems, all your issues in your finances, you gotta look past that because you've been given tools to look past that. Issues with your family and your kids and addiction, you've been given tools to get past that. We walk by faith and not by sight. You have to rely on the unseen and not the seen. You can't see the top of the mountain, but it's there. So keep climbing. You can't see freedom in your home, but it's there. Keep climbing. You can't see your kids following Jesus, but it's there. Keep climbing. You can't see the addiction in your family and that generational curse broken. It's there. Keep climbing. You can't see this room full of people loving Jesus, but it's there. Keep climbing. Church, keep climbing. Don't get complacent. I want to challenge you to keep climbing no matter if the mountain seems bigger than it was yesterday, no matter how difficult the climb is, just keep climbing. If you stop climbing, I double dog dare you to pick up your stuff and start climbing again. Don't be complacent. Pack up your tent, put on your backpack, and start climbing. Can somebody give Jesus praise in this place today? Feel a little Pentecostal today. And number 3, and I'm done. I don't know who comes up. So, for music. Number 3, start hanging out with climbers. Start hanging out with climbers. Evaluate your relationships. Are people pulling you down to complacency? Are they pulling you down to those complacent places? If they are, you need to find some climbers to hang out with. Find those that will challenge you, those that will push you, those that will encourage you, those that will tell you to get up and keep going when you sit down. See, I love to get around people who inspire me to be better than I am. Like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to say this. He's going to hold this against me forever. Freddie is one of those guys. He challenges me to be this dude when it comes to faith and walking by faith and living by faith. He's not one of those weird, like, name it and claim it, blab it, grab it, you can buy a Cadillac and have a Cadillac and not, he's not one of those weirdo faith people. Freddie, the dude lives this book. And he challenges me to be better than what I am in faith. And I love it. We don't agree on a lot of some stuff. Not a lot of it, some stuff. But he challenges me to be better than I am. See, when I see people like that, I want to say, why am I settling here if they can do it? If they can be better. I want to hang out with climbers. I want to hang out with climbers that say our greatest days are not behind us, they are ahead of us. See, and here's the issue with the church. We get so caught up in the way it used to be, and we used to sing these songs, and if we could just sing more hymns, it would be better. If we could get back to doing this or doing that, it'll be better. If we can get back to the old time Pentecost, it'll get better. Pentecost hasn't changed. There's no such thing as old time Pentecost. Pentecost is Pentecost. It's just, old time Pentecost sometimes wasn't very biblical time Pentecost. So I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to say anything. But we have to stop looking at if we could just get back the way that this pastor did it here, or this pastor did it here, that pastor did it here, where Chip doesn't do it like this one. And Bart doesn't do it. I hear that all the time. Well, Bart, you don't do it like Pastor James, because James Ranger, he's like, you don't do it like Pastor James. I ain't Pastor James. Can I tell you something? I'm not him. I won't be him. I don't wear his armor. Saul, I'm not going to wear your armor. I'm my own person. I'm not going to be a copy. I'm going to be an original. Because originals are climbers. Copies are complacent. Because they rely on the other person to help them. Ooh, I'm going to shut up. We need to stop looking down. We have to keep looking up. Did you know that 70% of climbing accidents happen when people are on the way down and not on the way up? Because on the way up, they are focused on the next handhold, on where the rope's going to go, on holding on the next step so they don't trip and fall. But when they're going down, they're so excited that they made it to the top and they want to get down. That's when they slip and fall, and they break their leg or they fall and hurt themselves. Because they're not paying attention. We need to focus. We need to press on. We need to endure, because climbers endure. Paul said in Hebrews, it's not on the screen, Paul said in Hebrews, God was speaking through Paul in Hebrews 10, it says, I will have no pleasure in those who turn back. Climbers don't turn back, they keep going forward. God said he will have no pleasure in those who quit, who give up and go back down. Listen, Jesus didn't quit on you. He carried a cross for you. He carried that burden for you. We can't quit on him. He didn't stop and put it down. He carried it as far as he could. And when he couldn't carry it anymore, another climber came out of the crowd and picked it up and carried it for him. The Church of Jesus is asking us to take up our crosses and follow him. See, Jesus, and here's the thing, when we take up our cross, when we follow him, he's going to walk with us. He's not going to walk in front of us. He's going to walk with us. Side by side with Jesus, carrying our cross. And when we reach the top, we can be like the Apostle Paul. What he told Timothy in 1 Timothy 4. He said this, for I'm already being poured out as a drink, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on the day, and not only to me, but also to all who have loved his appearing. You know what he's saying? Who will ascend the hill of the Lord? He who has clean hands, a pure heart. Those who don't quit. Those who don't get complacent. Those who keep climbing. Every head bowed and every eye closed today.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in and watching. We know this is a temporary situation, so we want to get you as much video content of our classes and our lessons as best we can, so we appreciate it. If you want to support this ministry, we can do it one of two ways. You can either mail in a check to 515 Roberts Lane, Bakersfield, California, 93308, or right after this, I'm going to put the link to our online funding, so you can point, click, pay with a credit card, or your debit card, whatever you got, and still be able to contribute to this. We appreciate you guys, and hey, don't forget to subscribe to our Sunshine Church YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. Thanks again, and God bless.